Hello, BookTube. It's time for part three of my Q&A for my first anniversary on BookTube. This is the final part. And next question is from John David. Sean, do you listen to classical music at all? Yes. And if so, who are some of your favorite composers? Also, yeah, well, we'll get to the second question later. Uh, Now, I'm taking classical music in its broad sense. Uh, that includes medieval, post classical, Baroque, and all that kind of stuff. Now, one of my favorites is composer is Thomas Tallis. Renaissance, 16th century. He was writing in the 1500s, mostly sort of sacred music for the church. It's in Latin, I believe. Which is good because if you look at the translations, I don't think it would work so well in English. Uh, but it's I think it's called polyphony is the style, where it's mostly voices, but it's several voices that work together. Well, not they don't well they work together, but they are singing different things at times. And the best proponents of the recordings of this is the Thomas Tallis Scholars, which was created it's early 70s, I believe it was, by Peter Phillips in Oxford. And he also started Gimel Records. I think the story was I remember reading out of the garage, basically. So and well, it's sent Gimel has since been sold probably more than once, but they still publish, I think, or put out CDs on that level. They're sort of a cappella group that does this kind of stuff, sacred music, and a lot of Thomas Tallis, but not just Thomas Tallis. Other ones at the time, the Renaissance ones, I think these are both 1500s, as well as William Byrd and Palestrina. And it's a similar type of stuff, it's religious. And then we go to Baroque. I love Vivaldi, anything by Vivaldi. And there's other Baroque ones that I like as well. Just off the top of my head, I can't think of any. Uh, Mozart, Beethoven for later. I like Bach. I like his Brandenburg concertos. I'd have CDs to show. I have some of this stuff, but I divested a long time a lot of my CDs, which I wish I didn't. I do want to start collecting again. Not collecting, but getting some CDs to listen to. Because I find the quality on like streaming isn't generally that good. I also want to get a record player eventually. I've got a bunch of classical records that I've been sort of gifted by a friend who moved to Taiwan. So I just need to get a record player at some point. And so yeah, back Bach, Brandenburg concertos, then Brahms, Haydn, Mahler, Strauss, and it goes on. I do like opera to a certain extent. I don't know much about it. What I seem to find is I like female opera singers than the male ones for some reason. And there's some that I go, yes, I really like that. And then some opera, I don't know if it's the singers or the material they're doing. I just don't quite know enough about it. I'd love to be able to dig into something like Mark Richardson, by the looks of it, has a wonderful collection of opera, and I'd love to sort of dig into something like that, and just listen and pick out ones that I like. I'd be very probably picky, but it's like I would like to listen to what I like to listen to. And then we come up to even 20th century. Well, I like Strauss as well, and what's there's the 20s composer. I can't think of his name, but anyway, I like his stuff as well. Um, but we come up, yeah, the German composer Karl Orff, and he did Carmina Burana, which is sort of it's vocal and music, and it's It's operatic in style, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what you call it, but it's vocal with music, and it's fabulous. It's in Latin. I'm pretty sure it's in Latin because it's based on Latin poems, and it's just fabulous. It's you need to play it loud. It's the kind of thing I think it's the kind of music. I think it's in The Omen. I think they use it in horror movies and stuff because it's that kind of thing. It starts up, it builds up, and then it explodes. I'd love to see it live. I really, really want to see it live, but I wanted to do that, but I don't know if that may not happen, at least anytime soon. But anyway, yeah, I love that, and I love he did a second one too, Carmina Catalyst, I think it was called, based on the Catalyst poem. So there's pretty heady stuff there. But it's based on a series of poems called Carmina Burana, and I here have the complete cycle of these about approximately 250 poems or songs that are from the 13th century. It says here it's Carmina Burana, literally songs from Buran, is named after the village where the manuscript was found. The songbook consists of nearly 250 poems on subjects ranging from sex and gambling to crusades and corruption. Compiled in the 13th century in South Tyrol, I'm not sure the pronunciation of that, a German-speaking region of Italy. It is the largest surviving collection of secular medieval Latin verses and provides insights into the vibrant social, spiritual, and to the intellectual life of the Middle Ages. And it's it's called the Dumbarton Oaks Medieval Library. It's by Harvard University Press, and it's very similar. It's a same setup as the Loeb Classical Library of Greek and Latin writing. So they put the original on the left side, and then they do the translation on the right side. And this was started semi recently, a lot more recent than the Loeb Classical. And then there's also a Renaissance library as well. I forget the name. And then they've recently started in the last few years a Sanskrit library. Now, going back to Bill Rutenberg's question, I think it was other things that I'd want for my library. Yeah. Could Santa or someone, nicely bring me a complete Loeb Classical Library, complete Dunbarton with a subscription for the rest, for medieval, the Renaissance, and somehow get me the full 500 volumes that they project for the Sanskrit, which will probably be over the next 50 or 60 years. But yeah, no, that's just fabulous stuff. And again, films bring me to books, music brings me to books. Now, the next part of John's question is also, well, I know it's not your favorite. Do you ever watch cinema for the last 50 years or so? If so, what are a few of your favorite post 1970 or thereabouts films? Now, that coincides with Western Heart's words question as well. First says, congratulations and happy book 2 birthday. Thank you. And then the question is, do you follow / have interest have an interest in contemporary film? If you don't, is there a particular period after which your interest drops off? So that'll lead into the other. So there is a period that my interest does wane. It doesn't drop off completely, but it does wane. And that's sort of the beginning of 1960s and 60s and onward. To me, the classic film that I want, because generally it's black and white, the films. Not always, because it's 50, like ever since, like, silent films, they've had colored films. But for the most part, it's classic films that are pre 1960, and most are black and white. There are colored ones, that's for sure. But then as the 60s, you still get black and white ones. So it's not a hard and fast rule, the 1960 mark, but it's sort of around that period that things kind of wane. However, I've decided to I was sitting thinking on Friday of the books, films from 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. And I thought I'd make a list of ones that pop into mind, um, are sort of ones that I really like. They are favorite movies of mine, regardless of the period. And the one thing you notice, these are basically sort of all Western, sort of English language ones. I love foreign film in general, but mostly older stuff and especially silent stuff. I find it difficult to watch a lot of foreign language films. There's some that are good that work. I've spent a long time watching a lot of stuff, and there's a certain thing. It's not the subtitles. I have no problem with that. It's just, but anyway, yeah, I'm going to confine it to English language films here. Now we can start with the 1960s. And 1960, I'll try to do these chronologically. 1962, Lawrence of Arabia, directed by David Lean. It starred Peter O'Toole, Omar Sharif, Alec Guinness, Claude Rains, and on and on and on. And it comes back to, I've got a biography of David Lean by Kevin Bronlaw, who I'm pretty sure was an editor. Well, he was a film editor. That's what he did a lot of work on. And I believe he worked on Lawrence of Arabia. But also, there's an interesting Field Marshal Allenby sort of shows as Jack Hawkins, brilliant actor and a voice that's just a very distinct voice, Jack Hawkins. But he plays Allenby, who sends in the film Lawrence, Peter O'Toole, to Palestine to do what he does. It gives him sort of carte blanche, and that's sort of real. It's sort of the thing that happened. Like, he was in charge. Allenby was in charge of that theater of war during the First World War. But the thing is, going back to a book, I tried to find it, and I just can't find it. I have shown it already on this in some other video early on. I've got a book of poetry by it's written by a captain of a ship. They're sort of sea poems. And there's a long inscription that's a quote from a German, I don't know, French zoologist or naturalist, I'll say. But anyway, I forget who it was. But it's a long inscription, but it's signed Christmas Day. Sorry again, but whatever year, Christmas Day to Field Marshal Allenby. And if I can find it, I will show it. But I'm afraid that probably when I brought it out, I didn't put it back on the shelf, and it's probably somewhere in my piles here. But as far as I know, this is real. This was a gift to him on Christmas Day because at that time Allenby went to Argentina, I think it was, to do some shooting, some big game hunting or whatever. But he died that following year that this was given. And I can't 100% prove it. I don't have any documentation to say that this was his. But that's why I like to like sometime find out, maybe in diaries or letters, that something he might have written down or something, that this insufferable captain shoving me his book on Christmas Day and so forth or whatever. And I think that would be just perfect. So that's kind of interesting. But anyway, back to the films. 1964, Zulu. Again, I had to look up the director of this for some reason. Fifield. Fifields, I think it is. I don't know anything else by him. I didn't look it up. I'd have to see. He's not a name that sort of crosses my radar very often. But it's got Michael Caine, Stanley Baker, a bunch of other great actors. Jack Hawkins is in it again. He's got a small part. He plays the priest that's at Rorke's Drift, and is an admonishing them that they're going to go to hell and all this kind of stuff, and rides off, I think, with his daughter on a wagon, which isn't really True. But anyway, it's like the real guy stay. He was actually there, I think, during some of Rorke's Drift, the siege on Rorke's Drift, or the attack on Rorke's Drift. But that's just a fabulous film, and the reason for that is I'm interested in the Zulu War, and I just find it just a fascinating, um, you know, film. That's, if not accurate, it's close to accurate. Like, it's accurate in other ways. Well, that's another video in itself. 1965 is Lord Jim, directed by Richard Brooks, another director I'm not that familiar with, but Peter O'Toole, James Mason, and Delia Lavey as the girl. Stunning, stunning lady. I don't think she actually says anything, or maybe she just says Tuan Jim, I think, and that's all. So it's quite a while since I've seen it. But also, Jack Hawkins again is on the film. So we got two 1960s with Peter O'Toole, and we got three films with Jack Hawkins. Okay, now that's enough of this 60s. Let's go to the 70s. Paper Moon. 19 yeah, I'll do this in order. Paper Moon, 1973. Peter Bogdanovich, his only or best movie, I think. I have to rewatch The Picture Show, but I'm not sure. But it's a fabulous film set in the 30s. It's with Ryan O'Neal and Tatum O'Neal, his daughter. She's just fantastic. It's Ryan O'Neal's best portrayal as well. Other than, like, I've watched other films with him, I didn't like him, but he wound up on like the most recent thing that I seen him on was Bones, the TV series Bones, with the forensic anthropologist, and he plays her father, or a strange father who shows up, and he's on several episodes. He was a really shady character, but he did that extremely well. But anyway, yeah, Paper Moon. Tatum O'Neal won an Oscar for her film. I think her career sort of went downhill from that as she got older. Um, 1975, The Man Who Would Be King. John Huston, based on a Rudyard Kipling story. John Huston was the director. Michael Caine and Sean Connery was in it. It's just a fabulous film. And then we roll on to the end of the 70s, 1979, Alien, Ridley Scott. I think everybody's familiar with that, but I thought it was a fabulous science fiction film with Sigourney Weaver. And the sequels put a pale in comparison to this one. There are other good films of each of these decades, but these are ones that jump to the forefront. Like in the 70s, you've got The Exorcist, which I really like. Rosemary's Baby, The Omen, the first one, and things like that. Those are all good. I don't have props for these because, well, I do have Paper Moon, and I've got Zulu. That's the only thing, but I should have grabbed those. But yeah, I don't have too much. These I gotta rectify this because I've been the last year or more buying mostly Silence and a few other things. So I've got to rectify that. So we finished the 70s. We move on now to the 1980s. This is gonna take up the whole bloody 30 minutes, won't it? 1980s. Let's see here. Let's see. What's the first year one? Yeah, 1982. Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid. It's a Carl Reiner film, starring Steve Martin and Rachel Ward and a host of classic film actors. It's filmed in black and white. It's a story that's concocted, but they intersperse scenes from classic film noir from the 40s and 50s, I think, as well. And it's fabulous. It's almost seamless that the scenes are cut in. I love it, and I do need to get it on Blu-ray or DVD. And Rachel Ward does look good in black and white. 1985 is Brazil. Terry Gilliam. It's sort of dystopian future, like a 1984 style story. Jonathan Pryce, Michael Palin, Catherine Hellman, and a bunch of other fabulous actors and actresses. And it's got one of the best parts of oh, I shouldn't even have started this because now I can't think of his name. He's the repair guy. It's oh, I forget his name, but he's not an actor I really like, but I thought he was fabulous in that part. Just a little wonky, a few screws loose. 1986, The Year of Living Dangerously. Peter Weir, one of my favorite modern directors. It's got Harrison Ford, Sigourney Weaver, and it's Linda Hunt. Fabulous performance. She's on the only sort of, there's a couple good things of the Dune film that was done in the 80s, I guess it was. I can't remember. I tried to block it out. Was Linda Hunt's Shadow Mapes was good. I think, yeah, she was. Was she on that one? Yeah, she was on that one. Or am I mixing up now? But anyway, I think she was on that one. Or was it the she played Shadow Mapes at some point from Dune, and she was really good. And then just getting back to the only other good thing of really that Dune was Francesca Annie. But anyway, yeah, Year of Living Dangerously, based on a novel. Oh, I forget the name. It's set in the '60s, in the turbulent sort of '60s of Indonesia in Jakarta, and oh, I said what I oh, who's in it? Yeah. I said Harrison Ford. Why did I say Harrison Ford? It's not Harrison Ford. It's the Australian actor. Why did I say Harrison Ford? Oh, my mind is going, and I wrote it down wrong. I think I did it from memory, so bear with me. Let me find here. Year of Living Dangerously, 1982. Mel Gibson. Why I was thinking it was Harrison Ford. I think I was. I know why I did that, because I was going to put in Mosquito Coast. I think in there, and it's Harrison Ford is in that, another Peter Weir film. But yeah. So yeah, that's just, it's a fabulous film. And then that was 1986. Yeah, so that's the third one. 1990s now. 1993, Remains of the Day, based on the novel by Ishiguro Katsuro. Is that right? Great film. Anthony Hopkins, Emma Thompson, and Superman. Christopher Reeve was in it. It's a fabulous film. It was filmed by James Ivory. It's a Merchant Ivory film, and you can't go wrong with any Merchant Ivory film. 1996, Train Spotting. It's Danny Boyle. It's based on the novel Train Spotting. Again, I'm blanking on the author's name, but everybody knows it, and if you don't, you can easily look it up. Ewan McGregor, Robert Carlyle, Ewan Bremer, on and on and on. So all fabulous actors and actresses in there. 1998, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. That's again based on the Gonzo journalist. Again, my mind's blanking, but people know what I'm talking about. I hope if you don't, you can easily look it up. It's directed, because we're talking about films here, so it's directed by Terry Gilliam. It's got Johnny Depp and Benicio del Toro. Just fabulous performances throughout. So we go to the 2000s now. 2000 itself, Shadow of the Vampire. And I had to look up the director for this. E. Elias Merhinge. I'm not sure which. It's a telling of the filming of Nosferatu by F.W. Murnau. A retelling, I should say. Where in this case they hire Max Schreck is the name of the real vampire who plays Orlok. So he hires a real vampire who starts eating and killing the cast and crew. It's John Malkovich, the only film that I can stomach him in. William Defoe as Max Schreck slash the vampire. A fabulous performance there. It's eerie. Um, and Eddie Izzard is in it as well. Let's see, 2001, Gosford Park. I don't. No, that wasn't. That was written by the Julian Fellows, who did wind up doing. Um, what's the Downton Abbey? But it's a Robert Altman film. It's 2001. It's the last film that I actually, as an aside, last film I seen in a cinema. It's got Maggie Smith, Michael Gambon, Kirsten Scott Thomas, Helen Mirren, and it's got Kelly MacDonald too, who was really good, and she was in Trainspotting as well. A fabulous actress, a really fabulous actress. And then 2005 is Tideland, another Terry Gilliam film. It's the one that usually gets overlooked by him, or one of the ones. Jeff Bridges, Jennifer Tilly, and Jodelle Ferland as the young girl, and it's it is based on a book as well, which I haven't read, but it's a harrowing thing. Like the parents are junkies, and um, the daughter Jodelle Ferland, she's showing sort of mixing up their heroin and injecting it and stuff, and that's what just really threw audiences. But it's pretty hard hitting. But yeah, that basically ends my film, because as we come into like the 2010s, I haven't seen enough films. I don't think there's anything I couldn't out of that popped out of my head to do that decade yet. And I'm sure I'm missing a lot of films that are good that I do look at, but I do particularly I am interested in pre 1950s films in general, but it doesn't stop me from watching other stuff. I spent too much time. I've spent way too much time watching films in the past, and still do. But anyway, that's my Q&A. And so we've got an hour and a half of questions answered. And if you made it this far watching all three, I commend you and thank you for all the fabulous questions. And I could actually, I could almost, some of those questions I could make an hour long video or more on each of the series of questions. It was easy enough. So thank you everybody for putting your questions. And as to sort of paraphrase Alec Guinness, who put out some fabulous diaries and memoirs, and his last one just before he died was absolutely my final absolutely my final appearance. So this will be my final appearance for question and answers until I reach 1,000. I got a ways to go, so you'll be lucky. You won't need to go through one of these again. But again, thank you, and hope everybody's doing well. I hope you've had a good weekend and have a safe and good week ahead. Take care, BookTube.